Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another show. Yes, we've managed to make another show, and we plan on doing so every single week here for Mad Magic, your show about MTG finance. Thank you to everybody who tuned in for our first show. Got a lot of views, a few comments, several subscribers, including one heavyweight subscriber that Thallid, you were pretty excited about. Who was that?
Yeah, Alpha Hoarder, Mike the Alpha Hoarder. He's one of the best YouTube channels that's out there. If you like Magic the Gathering content, especially of the vintage variety, this guy has great takes on a lot of stuff, and I would recommend his channel to anybody who likes what I refer to as Magic Born, aka Nearman Alpha cards.
All right, and last and most definitely least, our main benefactor and the whole reason we do this show, Hasbro Interactive. Hasbro, because sometimes your childhood dreams just need to die. Okay, so
and
today
it's not always young, just sometimes.
Yes, but they're doing a good job of making sure most of our childhood dreams are going right down a toilet. Got some doom and gloom for y'all today on the show, no doubt about that. Do have some upticks. Thallid's going to help us try to navigate these turbulent water as they come up. Again, I am Mono. This is Jay Thallid, my co-host. So we always do on every show.
Longest among us.
Yes, some picks that we like and hate, specifically buys and sells that Thallid has gone through for the week. So before we get to too much doom and gloom, and the news is huge coming out of Hasbro this week. First, Thallid, let's talk about cards that you do like that you think we should buy.
Yeah, right now, because due to the release of a new set, Caverns of Ixalan, there's some tribal cards that I really like, especially dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, as everyone knows, they're huge in Ixalan. There's a couple dinosaurs that are pretty good in Commander, whether it's because of their use in casual Commander or even CEDH on occasion. Polyraptor. Okay, and as you can see with the price, it's already gotten a bump. We may be a little bit too late on the Polyraptor. Generally, what happens is a few months out from a set's announcement, like for example, like when Midnight Hunt was announced and Crimson Vow, the speculators, they come out of the woodwork and they buy anything and everything that has to do with werewolves when Midnight Hunt comes out.
Right.
Anything to do with vampires when Crimson Vow comes out. So we might be a little late on something like Polyraptor, but I still think it's a good card. And if you already have some in your collection, they're probably going to be buy listing for a little bit higher price than they are right now. The other card I like is a card that really is, I think, a great value, and I think it has huge potential for exploitation and potential as a competitive card. It's out of Modern Horizons 2. It's called Thrasta Tempest Roar. It's an amazing card. It's 10 colorless and 2 green to cast it, although it does have an alternative casting cost. I think it is going to be a competitive card, and it's a fucking mythic. It's a mythic out of Modern Horizons 2.
I do have something here on Card Kingdom. Card Kingdom does have it on their buy list. I'll show this to you, and I think to your point, 80 cents, right? 60 cents for the foil. So these are cheap. I mean, what sort of how far up do you think they're going to go?
As high as they're going to go, I'm not exactly sure, but in my eyes, this card is ways to climb. I think this has huge potential as a card to be used in a competitive environment, just based upon simply alone just what the card does.
Next card, Steel Enchantment. out of Tempest. It's just 2 blue, and there you go. Steal Enchantment from off the board. So why do you like that guy?
Steal Enchantment is so good, and it's so good in Commander. And we've said it before. Seems like we say it every week. Commander is what drives the price of Magic cards.
Right.
Blue has a very difficult time dealing with enchantments. It's just part of the color pie. For 2 blue mana, you can steal the most powerful game pieces in Commander. What are Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, stuff like that. So this card is, I believe, underutilized, and I think that eventually people are going to catch on to this card.
So its highs were, a little over $5, according again to MGD stocks, and then it really shit the bed here and got down to just about $2 or so, and now it's starting to make a move between sort of like $2.50 and $3.50. So it seems like the market agrees with you that it is.
Here's the thing: it has 1 printing. Right. It's not on the reserve, although it's not on the reserve list. It only has 1 printing. So that's something to consider as well. It was printed 25 years ago.
Right. Now, speaking of things that were printed 25 years ago, this next one, always very near and dear to my heart because you're going way back. Straight up, former at least, restricted card. Is it still? Copy Artifact.
Copy Artifact, the reason I love this card, same reason. It's absolutely broken as a card in Commander. Especially any if you're using a mono blue Commander, it's especially good in Urza. Urza is my pet deck. I think, as you know, we played a few games of Commander, and it is my pet deck. Copy Artifact is amazing.
Is this still restricted?
I believe in Vintage. I'm not positive. But I believe in Vintage it's restricted.
Yeah, I mean, probably right in 93, 94 type tournaments it would be.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but at one point it definitely was restricted.
Before this was early on in Magic, people were playing with 4 Mercia's Workshops, and they're throwing out Juggernauts and Triscallions, turn 2, sometimes turn 1, and then they've got 4 Copy Artifacts in their deck, right? So then they're going ahead, and all of a sudden it's like turn 3, and turn 3, turn 4, and you're being like attacked for 20 damage, and frankly, that was the only thing that was able to get ahead of the control decks. I think, some of these things that were broken were the very things that allowed the control decks to become forever dominant. Broken was Swords to Plowshares. Get the fuck out of here with that, right?
Yeah. And with Copy Artifacts, the card's only going to get better because Wizard of the Coast is only going to print more cards. They're only going to print more artifacts. They're only going to print better artifacts, right? There's a power creep. For a colorless and a blue mana, you create another copy of an artifact that's in play.
Right.
It's a great card. And when you're playing with 3 other people at the table, you have 3 times as many chances to create a great copy of a great card.
And they had its highs, during the pandemic spike, like $170, and now this thing is like already back down to like $45.
Exactly. It's although it was printed and revised, and there's an estimated about 260,000 copies of each rare that were printed and revised, which that's a big number. But if you're just talking about getting a copy of the card to play in a deck, you're talking about, like maybe $30 or something like that. But there's going to come a time again where that card, even in played condition, is going to be $100. And there's no doubt in my mind about that.
All right. So lastly, you once again have a category of cards, the Trions. So talk to everybody about What are the Triomes and why you like
The Triomes are great. Once again, great commander card. They're great in modern because for a number of reasons. One is they're very good in the domain decks because they count as 3 land types, right?
Yeah.
So you can fetch for 1 fetch land, gives you 3 land types. So all of a sudden, just with 1 Triome in play, Scion of Draco costs at least 6 colorless less to cast. So they're pretty necessary in any deck that relies on domain as a strategy. And the reason I said the Streets of New Capenna ones in particular was because of how little those packs are cracked. Let's be honest, Streets of New Capenna, not exactly the best product that Wizards of the Coast has made, or at least not exactly the most popular. So, as a result, we've got some really, what I think, affordable copies of great cards that belong in nearly every commander deck that has 3 colors, and of course, the domain strategies in modern.
So you don't think though that they're just going to completely reprint the ever loving shit out of this thing?
It's possible, but I think that one of the reasons that these Triomes are kind of protected a little bit more than some other cards is because of the plane that they exist on. They exist on the plane of New Capenna. In general, when you have cards that exist on a particular plane, they're less likely to be reprinted, because if they print return to the return to the return to the return to Zendikar,
Yeah.
they can't reprint those Triomes. So your biggest risk is probably going to be a Secret Lair reprint. Or
right. So
maybe,
you're saying because there's some lore that follows to this, unless you're running back to the Streets of Capenna again for some other expansion, it wouldn't make sense like inside of regular expansion packs to do it. So there's more
exactly.
limited options to reprint these cards.
Exactly.
Yep. Yes, but as we know, Cynthia Williams over there at Hasbro, are there really limited options to reprint things in your mind these days? But all right, moving on. We also now have some cards that you say dump. What do you want? What do you want people to get rid of like now?
We might be a little late to the party on this, but in Vegas, everybody knows that with Caverns of Ixalan, there were some revelations that basically just blew up the room. Cavern of Souls, one of the most expensive cards that is not on the reserve list, is being reprinted as a mythic into standard, meaning that it's going to be in regular booster boxes. So it's going to be relatively easy to acquire that card.
This
so
was originally from the Avacyn Restored, right?
Avacyn Restored was the first time that it was printed. Yeah, it's been printed multiple times since then. Master sets, stuff like that. I believe it has an expedition printing.
Mm-hmm. I used to call this a sliver card.
Yeah, it was great. It was any kind of. It basically was one of the reasons that Humans was really good. It's basically one of the reasons that Merfolk is really good in Modern as well. So you take a card like this. Look, I mean, man, the price of this card. I mean, look at how high it was. If you look at its all-time high,
yeah, like 100.
And you compare it to what it is now. I mean, it's man, they're just destroying the equity in every card that has any kind of value. It's terrible. Not to mention, every single tribal commander deck in the world needs 1 Cavern of Souls. Everyone. So, but you print enough of them, and there's too many of them.
But I mean, I forget, was it a legendary land? I didn't look at it that close. I don't think so. And but to me, when it would come to like the sliver decks, you have more than one. I mean, to put in your deck. Yeah, I never thought limit that to one because there were just so many of your cards. Were going to be slivers. So the next one, and I'm very sorry to hear about this because I love this card and it was one of my first like, ha ha, I have this card and you don't card. Manac Crypt. You say get rid of the Manac Crypts. And by the way, for anybody, playing with us at home, that's the Manac Crypt right there. Okay, that is the card. All this other shit, it's not the Manac Crypt. That is the one you had to buy a book to Magic the Gathering Arena. I still remember that, reading that story, and the card came in that. That's how hard that thing was to get. And that's what's so disappointing about this, is that it was so special, right?
Mono, remember the little pin that was the expansion symbol? Do you remember that? Yeah, and really cool art too by Mark Teating. Love the art. Very cool card.
Right. And so you made this deliberately special, and then now you go to years later and say, oh, let's just keep reprinting this. And by the way, I don't think Manac Crypt goes in every deck. I mean, you got to start flipping coins and taking 3 damage. I mean, you have to plan around that, so this has a really good use case, but it wasn't for everything. I didn't really think that it needed to be reprinted, which we know it has. Here's one of the other alternative artworks, but what do you think is going to happen to it now? They're still calling it $172. So this is interesting. So how many printings are coming out for it?
Well, it depends on how many people are digging the grave and how many reprints are on the way. I personally believe that every opportunity that they get with a set, like let's say they print a set and they're just like, we need this to be a success. This is this quarter of the year, we really need to impress the shareholders. Why don't we put Manac Crypt in the set? Manac Crypt is always that card because Manac Crypt has always been the most expensive card that is not on the reserve list. And what made Manac Crypt, what made Manac Crypt explode, right? Commander. Because when you start with 40 life, flipping a coin for 3 life, it doesn't mean anything. There's a huge difference between 15% of your life total and 7 or 8% of your life total if you lose the flip. So that's what made Manac Crypt so broken. And it is clearly the best. It's the best mana rock of all time. It's better. It's better than Soul Ring. It's absolutely broken. But now we've got the Caverns of Exelon, and they're printing a ridiculous amount of versions of that card. Granted, some of them are super rare. They're doing these parallels. They're just like the sports card era started a few years ago. They're doing parallels of different colors of the card. They're doing a neon. There's like I believe a purple, a yellow. There's 5 or 6 different ones. It's irrelevant. Who really cares? There's a full art standard one. There's etched copies of each one. There's non-foil copies of each one. There's foil copies of each one.
Well, I don't know. They're going to be printing like 18 more versions or something, like something stupid, right?
Who knows? It's like you. It's ridiculous. Like you can't even count how many different versions of this card is available to be pulled in one set. It just makes me, if you can't tell, it gets me a little flustered just talking about it.
Yep. All right. Next card that we're going to be dumping now, and I like that this is the one that you're mentioning because it's so new. The One Ring. You think people should ditch the One Ring?
I think the One Ring is so overvalued right now. And if you can get the money that the One Ring is being listed for on these websites, sell it, sell it, sell it.
You know what's interesting is on MTG stocks, there's no finance data for it. And I'm wondering if it's getting screwed up because of the $2.6 million. Like, it thinks it's going after the one artwork here, but they're not even talking about what the price is. I mean, aren't they? What is it, about $40? I mean, what does a One Ring cost?
I think it's more than that. I believe it's
Okay.
60 to 80.
All right. And even in Magic the Gathering Arena, they nerfed it. You no longer get your the protection like when it first comes into play. Yeah, they were your protection from everything.
That's a horrible idea.
To nerf it?
It would just I just think that the whole changing cards in order to make them less powerful so you can still play them without banning them within Arena, I just think it's ridiculous. I think
on Arena, and they're doing it all the time. And because
it confuses the shit out of people.
Well,
like,
yeah.
Because in one format it may be nerfed, whereas in another format it's not nerfed. So it works completely different in paper and possibly multiple formats in Arena. Is that not confusing? I mean, that's insane. But sell this card while you can. Every single gift box that they're selling is going to have a copy of the One Ring in it. So, like, what does a gift box cost? And then you have the added equity of everything else that's in the gift box. That One Ring is going to be worthless. And I have no idea what the extent of how much time they've paid to control the IP or have the ability to reprint the One Ring. But I promise you, they're going to print it over and over and over again as long as they can. And we have the next set, the Lord of the Rings 2 coming out, which is going to have different copies of the same One Ring in that set. There's a holiday edition of Lord of the Rings. Mono, how ridiculous is this? It's another cash grab. Do you remember when we had 3 block sets and everybody just loved Magic, and it was the best game ever made?
The way it was
3 block sets with there was lore involved. Everybody knew the story. And the same mechanics were involved throughout the 3 sets that were released. Now we have 5 sets probably released in the standard environment alone on an annual basis, and they have absolutely no connection at all with one another. And it's things have just changed so much, and something has to change, or I'd hate to be like that broken record player, and people have said it 20, 30 times over the course of its existence, and they've been wrong every time. But this is the kind of thing that could kill Magic.
Well, there's things are different now. So there's some things that are different that makes it maybe why it could be right this time. So let's keep moving. Our next card is another card that's right there off the Lord of the Rings, the Orcish Bowmasters, and again got nerfed in Arena, so it no longer does 1 damage right when it hits the board. They took that away.
It's unplayable,
right?
Yeah, absolutely unplayable now. In Arena.
I mean, that was its value, right? To be able to go ping, when you had one of these little 1/1s that was annoying.
You're exactly right. That was its value. It was the Ragavan assassin. It killed creatures that had 1 toughness, and it did it efficiently. And not only that, you're creating the card advantage from that and the orc that you're amassing that can by itself become massive and win games.
So calling a $50 card still, at least MTG stocks is. So
Do you know how?
Sell it $50, right?
Yeah. Do you know how ridiculous that is? Like a $50 rare, a card that's in print. That there's probably, I would say that there's no less than 1 million of those. There's no way that a card that has 1 million copies can be worth $40. I mean, that's
50.
That's like saying you would have to say the market cap of Magic the Gathering is in the trillions for that to be worth $40. So sell shit out of that card.
I wonder because in Arena you can nerf cards, but you can't do that in tabletop. I mean, erratas don't really work that way. They're more to clarify versus changing what it does. So do you think, I wonder if this could get restricted?
I think that they stayed away.
Yeah.
They haven't restricted a card in forever. I don't think that, I think that restricting cards is going to be reserved strictly for the vintage format from now on, because it has been for so long. I mean, it confuses players, especially new players. Like, what do you mean? It says in the rule book I can play with 4 copies of this card. So it's just confusing to players. And not only that, the problem with restricting a card means that there's only 1 copy of it that everybody has in their deck, and the person that draws it wins. So it increases the luck factor a lot and decreases the skill factor in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Then lastly, you have another category for cards, which is the allied fetch lands. And I think it's worth probably mentioning here, I'm going to go out on a limb, that you're talking about the ones that come into play untapped only, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Who cares?
The original allied fetches that were printed in the Onslaught era.
So, why do you want to tell everyone to dump these?
Because it's a ticking time bomb for when they're going to be reprinted. And right now, if you look at the price of them, I mean, the prices of them are, even after the bear market that we've been going through, they're still quite high. Like, I mean, let's see, what card are you pulling up now?
Trying to do Flooded Plains. Here we go. No, that's when it comes into play tapped. Hold on a minute. What was Flooded Strand? Yes, sorry. Flooded Strand. There we go.
And you see every time a set gets announced, like a Modern Horizon set, where it's possible that they could be printed, and they're not reprinted, they go up in value even more.
I mean, look, it's still $78, so I mean, it's a good price.
Yeah, they're just waiting. They're just waiting to that card. They're going to use that. The allied fetch lands are going to be used at one point or another to sell a set that doesn't have other merits.
And what's interesting is that it's not at its all-time high, but it's close to like where it was during the pandemic time. It does seem to be, I mean, it's maybe like $90 or so, but it seems to be like it's really holding value. Have these ever been reprinted yet? Didn't they maybe once? Didn't they reprint them?
As far as I know, they were reprinted originally in Onslaught. They were reprinted in 2012 or 2013 in Khans of Tarkir. They were reprinted in 2016 in Battle for Zendikar, as the lottery cards. You're very difficult to get, very minimal amount of them, but still a reprint nonetheless. And I believe they were reprinted in Return to Zendikar as expeditions.
So it's like 3.5 printings. If you the lottery card was like a half print because they were just so darn rare. Technically, they made them again, but it's interesting that 3 printings and they're still hovering between $70 and $80, right? I mean, that's a card that has just been super important for everybody.
There's 2 real prints. And one of them was printed in 2001. And when I hear 2001, and it doesn't feel that far away, but if you think about it, most of the players that play Magic these days, there's a good chance they weren't even born in 2001. So these cards are ancient to these young guys, you know, and then they were reprinted a little over a decade later in Khans of Tarkir, and that's it. That's the only mass printings they have. They were printed at the rare level. They were printed before Mythics existed.
Right. So they were like a Mythic before there was a Mythic.
Yep. They were printed before Mythics even existed. Yep.
All right. And, so moving on here to our main story tonight, because I want to spend several minutes talking about this. And Thalid, feel free to.
Oh, shit's gonna get heated.
To let it breathe. Let it breathe. So I'm going to, as much as you all love hearing my voice, let me go ahead and just kind of show you from Polygon. Came out just a few days ago. Magic will stop selling draft boosters and continue selling boosters for the draft. What? And there's a reason why I think they might be doing this, but explain this to all this. What is going on? Like, what does this mean? Why are they saying that they're doing it? But why do you really think that they're doing it?
Well, the obvious reason that any business does anything is because they think they're going to make more money off of it. They think there's a bigger profit, and there's a bigger profit margin. What
on
they're
the boosters versus the draft, like, is that what you're saying?
Here's how it works, right? Okay. So they're going to quit printing a third product. The less products they put, basically, the more products that they print, the more they divide the community into what products they buy. They've proven that set boosters are more attractive as a product to purchase from the consumer's perspective. So they're like, okay, how can we integrate set boosters and make them have an illegitimate child with draft boosters, so we can still draft and we can still get 19 rares in one pack.
So they're basically getting rid of the draft booster, but then but they're not really getting rid of it. They're trying to like mind meld it with the set booster.
Yeah, there's still going to be draft available as a playing format. It's just going to be integrated with set boosters. Now, there's a lot of problems I have with that. First, there's going to be more rares and mythics available in set booster packs.
How much? Talk to me about those numbers.
So there are specific numbers disclosed percentage wise as your chances of getting each an X number of rares, X number of mythics, X number of uncommons in each pack. I don't know the exact numbers as far as the percentages, but you are almost certainly going to get at least 2 rares per pack.
And I've kind of been hearing some things online saying that some packs you might even get 4.
Yeah, you can get up to 4 rares and rares / mythics in one pack.
Great. So rares are like basic lands now.
Yeah. So what makes a rare? It's rare. What?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so if a rare is as common as an uncommon, rares all of a sudden are uncommons. The only difference is the color of the fucking expansion symbol. That is the only difference, right?
It seemed like they didn't really get rid of the draft boosters. They got rid of the set boosters and are calling the draft boosters set boosters now. You know, I know it's not exactly the same.
Yeah, that's true to an extent. But what they're doing is there's only rather than being 15 playable cards in each booster pack, there's only 14 playable cards in each booster pack. So there's 14 cards that you could draft in each booster pack. It changes the entire format of draft, because if I open a booster pack, right, and there's always bomb rares, right? There's always bomb mythics. There's cards that if I open this card, like, I have a huge advantage. Okay. So when more of those are available and more of those are around, and they will be, because they are by definition set boosters, and there's going to be more and more rares and mythics, there's going to be more bombs, and there's going to be more bombs at the table. So to me, it introduces more of a luck factor in the limited format when you're talking about drafting.
And there's also, but even sealed deck now will be affected by this. You're going to start adding in more rares and things like that. People are now going to start constructing their sealed decks, right? With now more powerful cards and things like that in theory. So there's going to be more rares in there.
Yeah, but technically, as officially as a format, sealed deck doesn't really exist anymore in Wizard's eyes. It's just something that
Fuckers, it's my favorite format.
I know. It's something I used to love it myself. It's something that players do. You just take 6 packs, and it's the equivalent of what we used to get when we would get a starter deck and 2 boosters, and build decks out of that. So it's really a fan created format at this point. It's really a boomer. It's a boomer format.
I don't know why Hasbro would hate it. Every tournament, everyone's opened up 6 new packs. Sounds good. Seems to make a lot of sense. You know, I don't know why they wouldn't like sealed. And I always thought,
they do that. They do that with the pre-releases, because there are 6 packs in the pre-release.
Yeah. And yeah, but that's like a token tip of the hat. You know, to me, sealed deck, and this is tangential, but too many players get their crutch cards where they need to do, like, hey, we'll give a shout out to our buddy Arnie. Like, that motherfucker cannot play without that friggin' 1 mana black card that lets you look at a hand and pull a card. What the hell is that damn thing called?
Oh,
it's 1 mana. You get to pull a non-land card.
Either Inquisition of a Kozilek, Duress, or Thoughtseize.
Duress. Yeah, something equivalent of Duress, you know, like, is every single deck that he would make had to have that in there, right? And so, but we all have those sorts of things, right? You know, like when we were dealing with Innistrad and Avacyn, everybody's a joke. Like, you want to make a deck like Mono, start by grabbing 6 Planeswalkers and then build out from there, you know? Because I just thought the Garuks and everything back then were so damn cool. But, you know, when it came to sealed, you couldn't count on that. You had to get creative, and that's what I liked. I think it showed who the smart players were from the moment you open the pack. Because even with draft, you can hunt the card, right? And depending on what you're doing, cube and things like that, you may get used to those things, and you know what cards are in there. You know, sure, you get used to a set, you get sealed, you know what those cards can be, but there's no guarantee at all. And, you know, and with draft, and there's big strategy to draft, but you now have the ability.
That is my favorite format.
Yeah.
To me, draft is the most skill-intensive format. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, yeah, but there's also, but there's still, and it is, but there is luck to it too, right? Because you can be hoping and counting on a card someone else could do. I'm getting red. The guy across the table is also going for red. Damn it, right? You know, so I don't begrudge draft at all. I mean, it's its own game with all of its own strategy, but still you can start hunting for colors and everything else. When it comes to sealed, you got what you got.
You got.
Yeah.
You're right.
Now, I mean, sometimes people can make drafts that are really murderous. You know, everyone's got to play 4-color decks.
With draft, sometimes there's some devious things you can do with draft. Like you could open up a complete bomb, and you're passing to the right, and you're going to be passing to the right, and let's say you can pass a card that is a complete bomb, right? And that person is going to take that card, and you're forcing that player to play that color. And that means when he passes to you, he's going to pass to you another color that you can bank on. And I mean, it's not guaranteed, but that's just part of the strategy of draft. Like if back in the days of Tempest in Boomer Magic, if I pass you a Rolling Thunder, there's a 0% chance you're not going to take it. But I also know that I'm going to be passed cards that are all the best cards that aren't red. You know, and that's part of the that's just part of the mini strategies of
and denying your opponent's cards. Like, sure, you can screw up somebody's deck, but that's a little iffy, right? Because you are taking a hit on behalf of the whole table to pick your turn to take a card that you're not really going to use just so they can't have it. But sometimes you catch that card and you're just like, with the deck I am building, anyone who draws this card on me, I am dead, right? So it's like you're just going to keep it, you know, and just make sure that you won't be seeing that against her. So yes, it's really cool. And so I'm going to share my screen again because there is a reason of why I think is pushing something around, why they made this announcement. And, you know, it's like, why now and things like that. And, you know, they'll always tell you, oh, we've been thinking about it for a while and blah, blah, blah. But here you go. 10 days before their earnings report, because this story broke a couple days ago, they're saying we're going to make this massive shakeup. And
I was talking about the real reason.
Well, this is one of them. So now they're about to, this is getting down to me. Yes. What is really going on here is executives
real reason
trying to save their ass. Right. So, when your earnings reports are lackluster, how you pad that is you say, oh, but we were building towards this, or we've made these shifts, blah, 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 so that next quarter we feel very bullish about what we're doing. And I see what you're saying with the less products, right? If stores go 50 sets, 50 draft booster boxes of each, right? But then someone comes in and says, I want a set booster, and all those go, and people come in and be like, you got a booster box, you have all I got are the drafts. You're like, oh, okay, never mind. And now you might have people sitting on these boxes, you know, the distributors, and so the local gaming stores. But if you say there's only one box now, that won't be a problem. However, it is an end run around on power creep, right? They're giving us our short-term fix to go, ooh, rare, you know, it's fucking Oprah. You get a rare, you get a rare, you get a rare. And I think they're doing it.
In reality, it's you get a common, you get a common, you get a common, because
yeah, well, that's really what they are saying, right? Yeah. Oh,
and here's the thing. This is a point that I really wanted to make before the end of the show. How much does it cost Wizards of the Coast to print a common card?
Well, the exact amount to print a mythic card.
Yes. Right? Okay. How much does Wizards of the Coast sell set booster boxes for? An average of about $120 a box, right? How much does Wizards of the Coast sell an average box of draft boosters for? That I'm talking about, even though MSRP technically doesn't exist anymore, it's about $90 to $95. Mm-hmm. So they're increasing the number of packs in play booster boxes to 36. So expect an increase of 6 divided by 36, so about 20%. So now the cheapest box of Magic the Gathering cards you're going to be able to purchase to draft with, rather than being $90 to $95, is going to be $150.
So you think MSRP again, right? You know, no real such thing, but you think that
it doesn't exist anymore technically.
Yeah, but it'll basically be $150 on these new boxes.
You're going to be paying $150 if you feel like you want to fucking draft Magic the Gathering.
Again, and I'm gonna touch my microphone. Earnings report, right? So they can talk all day long. Cynthia Williams and Chris Cox, that would be COCKS. You can talk all day long about we're trying to preserve the game, we're trying to do this for the game, but wouldn't you know, inside of all of those stories, it's more money for the players. They are selling more cards along the way. So they're creating a narrative to fit, how do we just sell more fucking cards? Right? That's what it is. And if you look, let them do a move where they sell less cards.
It's all about how big Chris's Cox can get. And that's what's going to happen. They're selling these cards at an accelerated, like, or a pricier and pricier and pricier price, and there's no benefit for the player.
For something that's less and less precious.
What is the benefit for the player?
Yeah.
And you're buying, these players are buying these boxes for $150 with more rares that are not fucking rare. So they don't have any value. So you're opening a box of cards. Even if you buy a box of cards, you're a collector, you don't intend to draft the set. You just intend to open it. You're like, hey, I love opening Magic the Gathering cards.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just want to open them. Maybe I want to make a complete set. What's actually going to happen is, rather than paying $95, hey, we've tricked these guys into paying $150 for the exact same fucking amount of money that it cost us to produce the $95 box cards.
Except I think deep down, not as many people are getting tricked as they think. And I think that some fatigue is going to set in. And I think that
it already has.
That's what's different this time. There's a scale. You know, you talk about how Chronicles was this bad move and things like that back in the day. Various other things that they've done. They've stopped putting cards on a reserve list. You catch these things. But the frequency of what is happening right now since Cynthia Williams took the helm at Wizards, you know, is undeniable. And everything around video games that she has been from, like with Call of Duty and the invention of loot boxes and all that stuff, is all about how to basically be an arms dealer for both sides. That's what she does. And you
I look at Miss Cynthia as the girl at the university football gangbang party who has syphilis and basically spreads it to everyone that decides to partake. That's what I look at her as.
That might be too far. I don't know. You may.
I don't think so. I think that might not be far enough. But that's what I look at her as. She is raping the game. She is killing the game. And it is all at the expense of greed. And she gives zero fucks because in 2 years, she's going to move on to another company, be another CEO, and she is going to say, hey, look what I did with this company. But they're not going to go back and say, what about the company that you did that to 15 years ago that doesn't fucking exist anymore because you didn't look towards the future and you simply you made money in the short term and destroyed the company in the long term. Like, and that's what's happening.
And she don't care because
you've got all these other games that are stepping forward, like Flesh and Blood, You got even fucking Pokemon, which is like the worst fucking playable game of all time. Jesus Christ.
I've,
Like,
I've learned how to play Pokemon. It is so different than Magic. Yeah.
yeah, dude. It's like the strategy is the equivalent of go fucking fish. Okay. I
We don't need to
it,
dive into that. Yeah.
it,
And and Sal, anyone who thinks that we're just beating up on Cynthia because she's a woman. Oh, make no mistake. Chris
oh, I
Cox
hate
and the
Chris Cox
executives
just as
there.
much.
Yeah, they're all enabling this. They see what's going on. All right. Now, look, I don't begrudge somebody who is lower in management. If they were to speak out, they're just fired. I mean, look, people have mortgages to pay. Okay. I get it. And so if you can't do anything, then you can't do anything about it, at least not overtly. But anyone who is around her that has influence over her, what they're doing, they see, they know, they are enabling and encouraging, right? It is not just
Okay,
her.
okay, Mono. Can I tell you? I don't. I've interrupted you 100 times today, but I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. I'm so passionate about this because
Tell me.
this is the nostalgia that like drives my life, that makes me happy. There is, I have heard there's inside information that employees, lower level employees at Wizard of the Coast, aren't exactly happy with the direction of Wizard of the Coast and the direction that they're taking the game. And
Well,
they are actually pushing back on these things. And even in the ivory tower, up in that ivory tower where there's naked pool boys feeding Cynthia grapes and giving her foot massages and trying to scrape the disgusting calluses off
oh
of her
boy.
feet. Uh uh Regardless of that, that the actual longtime employees of Wizard of the Coast are disgusted by what she's doing to the game. And I think that even though that there will be a time of reckoning within a number of years, and I think it'll take about 2 to 3 more years,
That's what I think about too.
about 2 to 3 more years before things change. I think things will change. And I think her days are numbered. Right now, she's good because she's managed to steal money from every LGS in the country. She's managed to uh, monetize the secondary market, which Wizard of the Coast claims that they don't monitor, but we all know they do based upon the cards that they print in secret layers. She is like the evil Disney character what's the 101 Dalmatians lady's name? I can't think of it. It's on the
I
tip of
don't
my
know. Ursula's in Little Mermaid, maybe. I mean, yeah.
she's the Ursula of Magic the Gathering. She's an evil person that in my eyes that is only concerned with one thing, making money today. She's not concerned with making money tomorrow. She's not concerned with making money next week. She's concerned with maximizing profits today while she works there in order to get a job somewhere else 2 years down the line and show that, hey, this is what I did at Wizards of the Coast.
And to clarify, and I'm not big on disclaimers, that is how it looks and appears to us from what we are seeing. Only Hasbro knows exactly what is going on. However, when you look at company after company, this is the playbook. Pump, pump, pump and dump, pump and dump. I keep hoping someone like a John Finkel will come in as an activist investor, with another story from another time, but he tried to buy Magic the Gathering. And I thought, all right, so he couldn't buy it, but could he come in and buy 30% of the stocks or something? But he might be looking at this because he knows the game. He'll be like, that Hasbro stock is going to go down, and he might be waiting, but I just hope that when it goes down out of an anger and a demand for a revolution and real transformation, as opposed to everyone now is just thrown in the towel and they're just done.
Well, yeah, from the inside, people are saying that even in the Ivory Tower, because of the Magic 30 debacle, there is a true concern, even that at that level, that the Magic 30 set had such a negative effect on the secondary market that the survival of Magic the Gathering is at stake. I mean, it's a concern even to the people that we hate. Hate's a pretty strong word, but
yeah.
But hate.
So with that, we will leave you all with our own card called the Cynthia Williams. And we also promise to reprint the shit out of this card.
We'll print as many of these as you fucking want.
Multiple variants. So, all right, everybody.
One print.
Yes, that's our show. We're going to be doing a bit of a dive into Amazon booster boxes on our next show. More picks, as always, from Thallid. More hijinks, ridiculousness. It's Mad Magic, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye from the fungus.
Mad Magic.